Hey, Steve.
Hey, Yusuf, good to see you again.
How you getting on?
Oh, great, great. Just
Right.
excited to talk about our latest feature here on Teckel Talk and Teckel AI, but really focusing in on Teckel Talk today.
Yeah, we're back to Teckel Talk, and we just cut right to the chase. The main thing we want to talk about is how we've made the Teckel Talk private communication software more usable, considerably more usable, so that in a nutshell, we've added a notification layer to Teckel Talk. So. And I think we should explain more about that and maybe demonstrate how it works so that people can understand just the utility of this ultra secure, ultra private communication protocol.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, the way I kind of liken it is it's sort of like a super duper high tech walkie talkie, and we've implemented sort of a little private address book so that you can actually add somebody's public Ethereum address, which you can just easily grab from any of the chat screens and add it to your address book, and then that way you can also set whether you want to be notified or not if somebody in other words, they're in your address book, enters either a private group or just a public chat, which is very convenient because that way you don't both have to agree on a time to get on to Teckel Talk, and talk to each other like, oh, hey, Yusuf, let's get on Teckel Talk at 4 p.m. Now we don't have to do that anymore because we can, Yusuf can just say, hey, let's why don't we put this Ethereum address that I use all the time in your address book, and that way we can then be automatically notified by the app, or I can if his Ethereum address is in my address book, I can automatically be notified in the app when Yusuf enters the general chat, or when, say, we set up a private group and he enters a private group, I'll be notified, and that's just an added convenience. And you don't have to do that, so it's optional. So you can control, who, what Ethereum addresses you put in your private address book, and you can also control whether you want to be notified or not. And in reverse, you can also go use Incognito mode so that when you enter a general chat, then nobody's notified on their address on their devices. In other words, say you are your Ethereum address that you're like to use or using in that moment enters the general chat, then if you have incognito mode, then anybody who has your address in their address book will not be notified that you just entered. So it goes both ways, and it just gives it increases the usability of the app a lot.
That's right. I mean, it's almost like making a phone call. Like with a ringer on your phone, it will ring when there's an incoming call. In Teckel Talk now, you'll get a notification. Not so much when there's an incoming call, but when one of your counterparties who you identified through an address book or through a private group or both becomes active on the wire, and you'll be informed. So you can join in and immediately start chatting with them. Importantly, we must emphasize we haven't compromised any of the anonymity or privacy with this, which is why we use pull notifications, not push notifications. Push notifications would allow the notifications to occur outside of the app. You wouldn't even need to have the app running, and that's great, and it's very useful for many use cases and scenarios. But the issue with push notifications is on both Apple and the Google platforms, you must use their platform notification layer, their push notification layer, which completely drives a train through your anonymity and your privacy, because your device ID and your user ID or your Apple ID or whatever, they're tied to those interactions. And so by avoiding the use of the push notification layers in these platforms, we have the best of both worlds, I think.
Go on. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, we allow notifications to occur with the caveat that you must have the app open or at least non-idle on your desktop. It doesn't need to be on the top of your app. stack, but it does need to be open. And once it's opened, it's basically like, to your walkie-talkie analogy, it's like saying, I've switched my walkie-talkie on and put it in my pocket, which means that if someone is going to contact you on your walkie-talkie, you will get a buzz or a ring because your walkie-talkie is on in standby mode. So by putting the Teckel Talk app in standby mode, you will then be informed of activity should you wish to be. I don't know about you, Steve, but since we rolled this out in development a couple of weeks ago, I've found it so useful to keep in touch with people on Teckel Talk. Now I no longer have to agree in advance any timing or any date to get together.
Yeah, no, it's really great, and I love that you just pointed out about that. The real technicalities of the notification layer, because again, all these other apps that are out there, which they all have their use cases, but if you've got any sort of notification activated on those apps, whether it's probably WhatsApp or Signal or any of these, Facebook Messenger, or there's a ton of Telegram, all of them. The thing about those is, if you're being notified, guess what? That's tied to your identity. It's because
right.
on the hardware level, it's tied through the Apple ID, it's tied through your Google account. Again, this is just, we're so security focused here at Teckel, and so concerned about anonymity and security, that we had to go this route, and it's the only route that's available to us right now. So thanks for mentioning that. Should we get into just kind of maybe showing some people on the screen how this actually works?
Yeah, so why don't we start doing the simplest thing possible, which is to join the general chat, which is a public chat forum where anyone in the world can join. It's completely free. And I think we've set this up that you're in my address book, so that if you join it, I'll get a notification. So why don't you go ahead, Steve, and join the general chat, which is the top icon on the main chat launch page on the app.
I'll click on general chat there. And now I'm in the general chat, and I'll just say, hi, Yusuf.
Okay, so I don't think you're in my address book. So let me just join the general chat as well, and then we'll both be on there, and we'll start basically fresh, start clean.
See,
okay.
I just got you're in my address book. So if you see here, I've got a little notification.
There we go. Perfect.
A member. So that was great. A little pop-up said a member in your address book has entered the general chat.
Oh, so that's great. So that was a live example of how the notification layer is activated. So I was in your address book. So when I joined that chat, you're immediately informed. Let's do that again, just in slow motion. So if you get out of the chat, yeah.
I'll go to the very home page. I'll click on Teckel Talk and Teckel AI here. Right there.
Okay. And I'll do the same.
And then I'll go, and it says one participant currently active. That's you. So I'll just go ahead and click on that and go in here. And now I'm back in the general chat, and I'll say, hi, Yusuf.
Okay, great. And I'll just say, hi, Steve.
Okay, let's go and check out the actual, let's go ahead and check out the actual address book. So I'm going to get out of there now. I'll click out of here, and then I'll go into the address book. You'll see this little icon here in the upper right there. So I'll click on that, and I've added some addresses here, as you can see. Cool use, because Yusuf is so cool.
Thank you, Steve.
My wife, Samantha. and another address of Yusuf's. So Yusuf obviously was using one of these addresses just now when he entered in that chat, and so that's why I was notified. So let me go. I'll click back out of here, and I'll go and see what address I'm actually using right now. So if I go up here, I can click on this icon right here, which is the accounts, credits, API keys icon, or this icon right up here. It's basically the same thing. But I'll click on here, and in here, I've got currently 2 accounts. I've got account 1, and it looks like currently I'm using account 2, which ends in the 797C. So
I'll tell you what, let's do another experiment, Steve. So go back into the chat, and I'll show folks how I can add your account to my address book, because you're not in my address book yet. So if you join that.
Yep, I'll go back in the general chat.
Okay, and I'll do the same. I'll come back in and join you there. Where are we? Okay.
Say, cool use.
Thanks, man. And I'll say hi, Steve.
All right.
Right. So this cool use, all I need to do is tap on that. I've tapped on it, and then I get a list of message actions. And the topmost action now, the new action we put in, is add account to address book. And by tapping that, I'll give it a name. So I'll call it Steve. And I think that was your account 2. I think you said it was your account 2, whatever.
Yep.
I'll still call it Steve account 2, and done. And what that now means is that whenever Steve account 2 joins, in fact, I get the notification right now that you have joined because you're on the system. There's the Android notification layer that we're using. And you see, it tells me that member Steve has joined. Would you like to join? Well, I'm already in, so I don't need to join. We're in. So there's an example where I put you in my address book. Anytime now in the future, while notifications are enabled on the app, should you ever join the general chat using your account 2, I will be notified by Teckel, and I can hop in and join you there. That's great. Probably one of the most appealing features is it's free to use, so people can leverage this, and they can, of course, use the end-to-end encryption security layer, which we talked about in the first podcast. Won't go over any of that right now. But let's do something slightly more elaborate, but probably more common, which is to set up, let's say you and I, Steve, want to have a 2-way, one-on-one private chat line that we use routinely to have completely secure, end-to-end encrypted with Diffie-Hellman communication. So the way we can do that is, if I go back to that item, that bubble that you sent me, and instead of adding to your address book, I can add an account to a private group. And if I do that, it says here, would I like to create a new private group or add to an existing private group? Well, I'm going to create a brand new one. So this is going to be a private group with just you and me in it. I don't need to add myself. That's done automatically because I'm the host of this new group. But if I do new private group, and I've put Steve account 2, it carried that over from before. And for the group nickname, I'll say just Steve and Yusuf. So that private group is now going to exist. I hit done. And the Teckel server keeps track of that, all anonymous, of course. It only knows the public addresses, nothing else. So if, for example, we both come out of Teckel Talk,
okay,
let's both come out.
Yep.
And if you now go into Teckel Talk,
yep,
and if you now go to join a private group, the second bullet, a private room, the first thing you'll notice is if you go on guest, you will see, if you hit guest, you will see that group that I've just created, the Just Steve and Yusuf in the middle of the screen there. That's the new private group that just has you and I on it. So if you want to go ahead and join that chat by hitting the bubble, the top bubble, what's going to happen is you're going to check your credits, because we do charge teckel credits for the private group chat. It's going to join, and as it says at the top, you've connected to just Steve and Yusuf. That's the private group. The two green lights, left and right top, show Diffie-Hellman end-to-end encryption. So this is a completely private chat. I've not joined it yet, but interestingly, I did get a notification. I got a notification which says a private chat group of which you are a member is active. So This is an example where private group activity is notified to me. And this is great, because it means that if you and I want to, if you want to have a completely private, bless you, Steve, completely private chat with me, you can just dial up on the private group and I will receive a notification. If I tap on that, it says private chat group, just Steve and Yusuf. It gives the name of which your current active account and my Ethereum wallet address that I'm currently using is a member, is active. Press go to enter the chat. So I'm going to hit go. And it will now take me in to the same private group chat that you're in, connected to just Steve and Yusuf. You'll get a notification that I've joined.
Yeah, you can see that notification there, right there.
So that's really, in a nutshell, the core functionality of this new feature set. Now, it may not appear like a lot, but it transforms the usability of the application, because now you can use Teckel Talk as your private, secure, anonymous, encrypted communicator, have it in standby mode all day. It takes almost no power to have it in standby mode as it waits for communication notification from anyone. And of course, like we have emphasized many times, you can have as many Ethereum addresses as you like set up. You can have as many private groups as you like set up. You can have as many members of the private groups as you like set up. And it also works in the asymmetric case where you may be a member of a private group, but you haven't hosted any private groups. You will likewise still be informed if that group becomes active. Hopefully,
let's show that fact that on the area of the app use where it's showing where you're a guest or a host. Let's show that a little bit more and about how how it's interesting how if somebody enters a group and your Ethereum address is not the active Ethereum address, you're still notified.
That's right. That's right. Importantly, because you can have any number of Ethereum addresses, it's important that if any of your addresses are triggered, if you like, or if you will, by activity in a group of which any of your addresses is a member, you will be notified. And it will also, if you want to join that group, it will ask you if you want your current Ethereum address to be switched over to the one that's active in that group. And if you say yes, then it will switch over, check your Teckel credits, and away you go. You'll join the group under that alternative account. So to go and see all of that, if you go back to the Launchpad, oh, you're already there, Steve. So you've selected both in the private chat groups. Both means show me all the groups that I am hosting. You see in the gold, in the Teckel gold color. Those are the ones that you've created and hosted. And in the black or Teckel dark blue are the groups that you're a member of that you didn't create. And that's nice because sometimes you're responding to a group you're a member of, or you're responding from a group that you're a host, a creator of, doesn't matter. And the nice thing is if you own the group or the host of the group, you can edit it. So you can change the membership, you can add and delete people, you can change obviously the nickname of the group. And in this way, I believe we have total flexibility, yet maintaining complete anonymity, complete privacy. And I hope then that people will find this to be a great alternative to the other tools out there, the social media tools, which, as we emphasize again and again, are basically part of the surveillance universe. You cannot avoid the fact that pretty much every app out there is performing some level of surveillance on you as an individual when you engage with that app.
And
And so,
on that point, I want to mention something that's kind of surfaced that we didn't realize until we've actually started using that, and that is that just the kind of the privacy anonymity features of this app allow you to even sort of determine if say you think you want to make sure that you're communicating with your friend, your associate, or whoever it is, right? The fact that all these members can be given nicknames. So I'll just give you an example. Like, say in this Steve Yusuf group right here, if I click on the members, which is just going to be, Yusuf and me here, you can see what I could do though is Yusuf and I offline could agree that that he is here. Let me just go in here to nickname here. Although we have we done this, Yusuf? Do the nicknames actually show up on the chats or no?
No.
Yeah.
They show up. They show up in the notifications.
Yeah. On the notifications.
No. That's important. We don't want them showing on the chat because that's an instant loss of anonymity.
That's right.
Should someone be looking over your shoulder?
That's right. But we could. They show up in the notifications, right?
That's right.
That's right. So what we could do is I can instead of just putting Yusuf's first name, I could just put in whatever, some code name that we both agree on, like Blue Tree 2, and then that way,
no one's ever called me that before, Steve.
Yeah, just Blue Tree 2, right? So there's no association. No government agency can ever associate Blue Tree 2 with Yusuf. It's just completely random, right? So I do that. Now, what's going to go on is, if Yusuf enters a chat, I will always know that it's Blue Tree 2, and then if we start chatting, I can actually say, "Hey Yusuf, what's your special code?" What that does is he knows, because we've already agreed offline that he's Blue Tree 2, and so what that does is, see, first it's notified me that Blue Tree 2 is in the chat, but I don't really know if it's Yusuf himself, because what if some criminal had attacked Yusuf and ran off with his phone and somehow got access into his biometric or his PIN or whatever, got into the app, right? I wouldn't really know any of that information, but I could verify, because I would know, because this person wouldn't know that Blue Tree 2 is on my device and that Yusuf and I pre-agreed that our verification code in the chat is always Blue Tree 2. And so
it's interesting, yeah.
And so therefore, I can see Yusuf in the private group, or I can see him in the general chat, and I can say, "Hey Yusuf, how's it going, man?" And say that the criminal's responding, "Oh, great, Steve," because he happens to know that Yusuf and I are friends or whatever. "How are you, man?" And so I go, "Great. Hey Yusuf, hey, just for verification purposes, what's your special code?" And if the person doesn't come back immediately and say Blue Tree 2, I know that Yusuf's address has been compromised. I don't know what's going on. His private key might have been stolen somehow in some weird way. There could have been man-in-the-middle attack. Maybe some thug attacked Yusuf and ran off with his phone. I don't know. But this is just an added layer of security verification. And
I love it. It's very much like the secret key you can add into the general chat or the multi-group chat for the encryption, the end-to-end encryption. But the beauty of these, they might seem kind of archaic, but the beauty of these approaches is no one can read, and as long as you're reasonably clever about creating these nicknames and you don't do silly things like Yusuf 1 and Yusuf 2 or Steve 1, Steve 2, which is what I've just done. But if you do something that's a little bit more subtle, there's no way this is going to get hacked, because, and everyone goes on about quantum computers. This comes up quite a lot in our podcasts. There's no quantum computer is ever going to be able to read my mind at the point in time that I created a nickname for you that at that point in time, you don't even know. Because I'll tell you later in some other medium, oh, by the way, Steve, I've given you the nickname Yellow Snake 7. So I could even say, and it's only going to last a day.
Yeah. That's your nickname for today.
Yeah, and the beauty of that is, I'll see that coming up on the notifications, and I'll know it's you.
Yep. And then you can verify. Then
I
you
can
say,
verify.
"Hey, Steve, how's it going? What's your nickname for today?" And unless I come back and say Yellow Snake 7, you know right away that my address was compromised, and you're gonna turn channels basically and delete me from the group, your address book.
But you know what's really great, and this is something that we designed in very deliberately at the beginning of creating Teckel Talk. If one does come to the realization that an Ethereum address has somehow been compromised, it's very unlikely that an Ethereum address is getting compromised unless you've somehow shared your private key, which you should never do. Even with your closest loved ones, you should never share private keys, like you should never share passwords. But anyway, the great thing about Teckel Talk and the way we've architected it, if you don't mind me saying so, is you just throw them away. They're completely throwaway. You might lose some Teckel credits, but the point is you don't have to set anything else up. There's no, oh my goodness, I've got to rebuild the app on my phone. I've got to delete it. I've got to apply for a new phone number. I've got to use a different SIM card. All of the things you would have to do if you wanted to change your persona or your identity in any of these social media apps. Yeah, it's not easy, as we know, because it's chained to the identity that you provide when you install the app, install the device from new. Whereas with Teckel Talk, you simply create a new account with one button click and you're done.
Yep.
And then you just do a cleanup. You go, okay, I'm going to go through my address book and get rid of addresses I don't want in there anymore. And then you would, if you create a new account that you've decided you're going to use because you're concerned that your other account might have become compromised, you just let me know. You let me know through other channels, other means that you're using a different Ethereum address. Send me the address through, you can use ChatGPT or Signal to give me a public address if you like, and I'll put it in my address book. And then I know that when that pings, that's Steve's new account.
Yep.
No need to hassle with uninstalling apps from the device and messing around with your identifiers, which, for good reason, it's difficult to navigate around that. Even when you get a new phone and you put WhatsApp or Signal on your new phone, you can't use it on your old phone anymore. Because it says, hey, this has been registered with a different device. All of that shenanigans is completely immaterial in Teckel, because as we described in detail in the introductory podcast about Teckel Talk, there's a total separation between you, the individual, and the entity that is communicating through Teckel Talk, namely the Ethereum account. So it's almost a sort of serendipity that this original decision of ours, Steve, going back 4 years when we started the whole Teckel game, is starting to reap even more dividends, because the freedom or the abstraction between the individual and the identity that's on the communication channel makes for a freedom that you don't have normally when you're communicating through iPhone or Android. You're not chained to the typical identity with Teckel Talk. So I think that's a great feature that is now becoming, I think, important. The more that we should be concerned about identity theft and all these dreadful things that happen to people when they're, careless, let's say, with their device, careless with leaving their phone open on a cafe table. Unfortunately, you can't do that in the world anymore. There's such a lack of trust and honesty. You have to be super vigilant, super aware, super cautious. But if you're not, the great thing about Teckel Talk is you just dump the account, create another one with one button click, and away you go.
Yeah.
You're not lost any time.
And in that, Yusuf, I want to say a couple things. I love what you just said. I mean, it really, unfortunately, we live in sort of what seemingly a more and more whatever they call it, a surveillance state, right? You see people complaining about it in the news or on social media. I recently read a clip from the founder of Oracle, Larry Ellison. I think it was a meeting with President Trump, and he was talking about how literally we're headed towards a Big Brother state. I mean, his exact words, and I don't know. It's just I'm paraphrasing him. I'm not quoting him, but I read in the article that he was saying that the way that the technology is with the surveillance, with the AIs now, with all this sort of stuff, that he said himself, it's going to cause people to be on their best behavior. And that just sent chills up my spine. I don't know about you, Yusuf, but that sent chills. And I was thinking to myself, well, I'm glad teckel has completely circumvented big tech. It's completely circumvented. I mean, we're not using cloud infrastructure. We're not using any sort of government IDs, which I read recently that the UK now has implemented a government ID that, and in fact, one morning just a week ago or so, my wife Samantha woke up and just automatically there was some sort of app that was automatically downloaded onto her iPhone, and it was some sort of government ID app, and she didn't load that up on her phone. And so it's like somehow somebody has access to our phones, our devices, and that act alone kind of portrays the fact that you're not in complete control of your device. And
I suppose that Larry Ellison attribution is great. The idea of nothing to fear, nothing to hide, whatever. That's great if you can trust Big Brother, if you can trust the entity who's making these maneuvers. But the trouble is, there's a real lack of trust everywhere now, and unfortunately, for good reason, there's lack of trust in government, lack of trust in the supposed leaders and the leadership making these innovations for us in our life. So I think even if you are completely secure in your knowledge that you are a solid citizen and a law-abiding citizen, to the concept of chills up your back, Steve, I totally agree. There's still no entity has any right whatsoever to be surveilling you, to be monitoring you. It's very creepy, very scary, and of course, the real danger is that that leadership becomes rogue or goes rogue itself, and then you are really in trouble, because now they know everything about you, and they've lost their moral compass, they've lost their direction, and you're incredibly exposed under that scenario. So that's the reason.
Yeah,
stay well clear.
I could not agree more with you, Yus. And another case in point is I just read recently, this happened just about a month ago. I guess the Vietnamese government decided to just automatically shut down over 80 million bank accounts. I thought it was like a joke at first, like nobody could ever do that, but no, this actually happened. And I'm like, well, wait a second, what? And it had something to do with their story was that these were superfluous bank accounts, inactive bank accounts, or something like this, and they wanted to like sort of clean up the system or something. But the reality was that if you had one of those bank accounts, and I'm talking 80 million, we're not talking 8,000 or 80,000, or we're talking 80 million. If you had one of those, you were forced, from what I read, you were forced to go into the bank and identify yourself, like biometrically. So again, it's like, they wanted, in a sense, that gives me the feeling that it's just an added layer of control. They They want to make everything digital and biometric, and so that if something happens, they can just flip the switch and turn off your bank account app on your phone. And probably the reason that you had to go into the bank and verify is so that you could download the app and put your thumbprint in and biometrically connect it to the bank. And if something happens, they just shut it off on your phone. Yeah, that's the feeling I get. I don't know. I can't prove it, but it was public news. It came out, and again, it makes me feel that I just want to use apps like teckel more and more.
Yeah, I think unfortunately we are in that situation, and there's it's almost ironic that we're building teckel, which is a digital communication device, if you will, but it's built in a way that protects your analog identity, whereas many of these other systems do not protect your analog identity. In fact, they subsume it. They take it over. So we're kind of pushing back against that, and I think the argument is in the pure interest of privacy, you should not be forced to give up any of that anonymity just in order to talk to someone. Yeah, I just want to talk to you, Steve. Why should I have to give up my anonymity or privacy to any tech company or cloud or organization just for the privilege of talking to you? And therefore, that I think is the greatest motivation for people to pick up teckel and use it, because it brings control back to you on who or what entity gets to know about who or what entity you're communicating with and when. And this is a great point, I think, to remind everyone that teckel is completely ephemeris. Nothing is stored on any server, and nothing is stored on the device beyond the memory snapshot of the ongoing chat session. As soon as you come out of that session, or if you shut your phone down or disconnect from the network, that entire session is gone forever. It's completely obliterated. So
but still, if there's important information that you personally want to record on that chat session, we allow the PDF document of that to be offloaded off the device and shared on to an email or something like that.
Yeah, but that's entirely completely opt-in. That is, you're in the middle of your chat with your device open in the session. You can personally choose to hit that PDF button, and a PDF file is generated on your device. It's not generated on the server. It's not generated within the group chat. It's on your device, and you can do what you like with it. You can send it to yourself by email. You can post it to yourself on Telegram or Signal or WhatsApp, whatever you like. You can choose a destination in the app share interface for that PDF. So you decide where it goes, and that's it. So I think, Steve,
I want to add something else, Use, regarding the anonymity, because I don't think we've discussed this on our podcast before. It's in our Q&As, but for people who say, well, wait a second, isn't the Ethereum blockchain this public ledger? So if I'm using these Ethereum addresses, isn't it public information? Well, yes and no. It depends on how you use the Ethereum address. So what it is when you create a new Ethereum address, like I just did a few minutes ago. Now I've got 3 accounts here. This is just local on this device. So when I create a new Ethereum address, there is the public address there, and we truncate it on purpose so that nobody can actually know the whole Ethereum address publicly. But that only resides on this device currently, and so the private key associated with this is only on the encrypted area on the device. And
that's correct.
It's not on the blockchain. So this right now, this address, if you search for this address on the blockchain, it will not show up. And even if you purchase teckel credits for this address, it still will not show up on the public Ethereum blockchain. So this is an important point. Now, if you chose to use this Ethereum address on the public blockchain, which you can, then yes, that then becomes a permanent record on the Ethereum blockchain. But you don't have to. You can just keep this Ethereum address as your teckel talk Ethereum address, and so you never have to transfer any actual Ethereum, cryptocurrency to this Ethereum address. So we're utilizing the encrypted nature and the public-private key pair nature of Ethereum to drive this as the authentication method. And even if you were to go look at this, so if I go right now and I go share, hit that share icon right there, and I view this on Etherscan, it'll show up on Etherscan, but it's not really what Etherscan does is it recognizes this as a valid Ethereum address, and then they just temporarily cache it in their database. So I just want to point that out. If you go view on Etherscan, this will show up on Etherscan, but it's just, again, they've just cached it as like a valid Ethereum address, but there won't be any blockchain transactions with this. And eventually, if there aren't any, I imagine if Etherscan may just go ahead and delete it from their cache after a while. But so if I go ahead and click view on Etherscan here, it's going to go out to Etherscan, and you'll see there it is. There's the whole Ethereum address right there. But you'll also see if I scroll down here, right, it doesn't have any Ethereum associated with it, obviously, because I just created it. And there are no transactions associated with this. See, there are no matching entries. So again, there's no data on the Ethereum blockchain. Now, if you go back to Etherscan and plug this in, it'll show the same screen. But again, it doesn't mean that this is actually on the Ethereum blockchain. What it is that Etherscan has just cached this address as a valid Ethereum address. So I just wanted to kind of point that out.
That's a good point. And I would also say this is historic for us because we started off 4 years ago, let's say, blockchain focused. And we very quickly got involved with creating these Ethereum accounts. And then we realized later that they have great utility beyond the blockchain, like you just said, Steve. They're great authenticators because they've got great built-in encryption cryptography capability, and we leverage that in the Teckel Talk Authenticator. Now, all that said, you can, of course, go on to the blockchain. We maybe talk about that in some other podcasts, if you wish, with these addresses, and you can do things on the Ethereum blockchain. But the other thing to note, the important thing to note, is even if you do that, there's still no KYC associated with that activity. All that the blockchain or Etherscan would ever see is the public address. It wouldn't know that it came from a Teckel device. It'd have no way of knowing that. And it would certainly not know who the owner of that phone is who created that account within Teckel. So there's layers of anonymity anyway. And the Ethereum blockchain has no record of the actual humans who are interacting with it. That's also by design. And therefore, what I would say to people is just use Ethereum accounts on Teckel for communication. Don't use them on the blockchain if you don't need to or you don't want to or don't even know what the blockchain is. And then if you do want to use the Teckel addresses on the blockchain, don't use them for communicating. Just create, if you want to go and buy some Ethereum or trade some Ethereum or do things with the blockchain, use some accounts on here, but keep them separate from your communicating accounts. That's what I would do. In fact, that's what I do. I don't use any of my Teckel wallet addresses or Ethereum accounts for any actual blockchain activity.
Yeah, and you can easily nickname your account. So see this nickname functionality. If you come down here and tap on this, and I can just say, only use for, only use for Teckel. Done. And so I know, there it is, only used for teckel.
And of course, also important is that is only local to your device for your own bookkeeping. That nickname that you've given is not stored anywhere off the device. It's only for your benefit. So it is completely secure from that point of view.
Yep.
So I think, Steve, just maybe to wrap up here, we've now taken Teckel Talk into a situation where it's highly usable. It is the most, I would say, the most secure and private communication system on your iPhone or your Android phone. And I'd encourage anyone who's concerned about the surveillance society to at least use it with the other tools that you would use. But if you have something particularly sensitive that you don't want any possibility of any leaking of that information to anyone at any time in the future or at present, then I just say Teckel Talk is the answer to that. It gives you the safety and comfort that you may require on occasion when you have very sensitive information that you want to discuss with one or more people.
Yeah, and also we just added this little note. If you long press any of these icons, you'll get some additional information about the functionality of the app. So that's always a helpful thing. Just wanted to point that out. All right, should we wrap this up? Oh, I wanted to show also really quick. If you go under settings, if you want to modify the notifications, at the top here you'll see the notifications, and if you click there, here you can adjust, enable chat activity notifications. So you can turn this off. So if you get all of a sudden, if you've got a ton of people in your address book and a lot of people using Teckel Talk, Teckel AI, etc., you can just come in here and uncheck these, and these will, this one obviously it enables the general broadcast. This one enables private broadcast, and so you can come in and just shut everything down if you want. So that allows you to control the notifications, because I know myself, just as we saw a second ago, some app was notifying me of stuff that's going on in the background with me. And I'm just like, oh my God, it's like, you want to control those notifications every now and then. So we've done that too here at the app level. Oops, there it is. Yep. So
that's great, Steve.
Yeah,
I think we should wrap it up. And I enjoyed this conversation. And I think with this innovation now in Teckel Talk and with the previous innovations in Teckel AI that we described in the last podcast, hopefully we've given people a really useful set of tools that they can explore and use that they just probably cannot find anywhere else. And that's really the point.
Yeah, I don't think the feature set that we have here with Teckel Talk and Teckel AI has been replicated any place. I haven't seen it. I've searched AI and stuff, and and obviously there are a lot of people out there doing similar stuff in different contexts. But our particular, what we've done, I think is quite unique.
All right, that's a great way to close, Steve. Always good to talk to you. Hope everything's going well out there in California. As you can see, my AI digital snow is still falling here, and it never builds up on the windowsill. You're right. That's a dead giveaway, isn't it?
Yeah, right. Well, go on.
I was just going to say until the next time.
Yeah.
And of course, anytime I want to talk to you, Steve, I'll just ring you up on Teckel Talk. And hopefully you won't ignore those notifications.
No, I won't know him. But I'll tell you, if we start chatting, I'm going to ask you what's today's nickname. And if you can't answer correctly, I'm going to just delete the address.
I think that's fair. Okay, Steve. Until the next time.
All right.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye bye.
Yep. Bye.
Bye bye.
Yep.